The Erie Canal. Solving the transportation problem. In the 16th and 17th, most European colonies in North America stayed between the coast of Atlantic Ocean and around 400 miles, 640 kilometers inland. There, the Appalachian Mountains rise up as an enormous barrier, spanning an area north to south that covers more than 1,500 miles, 2,400 kilometers. In the early 18th, Americans lived in states and territories. More Americans became eager to settle the fertile, resource-rich land west of the Appalachian Mountains. However, these lands belonged to indigenous people. Still, settlers were determined to colonize these lands and needed to find transportations to travel and ship goods across the mountains. Americans looked to Europe, where artificial waterways called canals were popular and efficient ways to travel and transport goods. They considered whether a similar system could work in the United States. Planning the area canal, the New York State Canal Commission made a plan for the canal to cross the state. It would connect Lake Erie, one of the Great Lakes located in the American Midwest, with Albany, the state capital located on the Hudson River. From Albany, boats could take the Hudson River south to New York City and out into the Atlantic Ocean. The area canal would link major cities in New York City. Due to their location along the canal, smaller towns such as Rome, Lockport, and Little Falls would prosper. Native people removed. While the canal would bring success to many Yorkers, it displaced members of the five Haudenosaunee nations. They were forcibly relocated to reservations to ensure nothing would stand in the way of the canal path. The biggest supporter of the area canal was D. Clinton. Clinton was elected governor of New York State in 1817. In his campaign, he promised the canal would bring jobs, money, and new settlers to the place along its path. Not everyone believed in the area canal. The path of the canal was on indigenous land. Haudenosaunee communities relied on this land, while the trade route would make money for settlers. It would damage the land and water. President Thomas Jefferson turned down Clinton's request for federal funds for the project. Without federal support, Clinton was forced to use New York State tax money to pay for the canal. Building the Erie Canal. Work began on the Erie Canal in 1817. It was originally built to be 4 feet (1.2 meters) deep and 40 feet (12.1 meters) wide, and towpath 10 meters 10 feet 3 meters wide was made next to the canal bank for process and moves to pull boats along the canal. Building the canal was a challenging task because there were no engineering schools in the United States at the time. Most engineers were self-taught. They had no navigate uneven terrain to create a constant flow of water throughout the entire length of the canal. Workers began construction in the middle, which was the flattest area. As they moved east and west, they had to adjust the height of the land. In some places, they dug to lower it or added soil to raise it. Building the canal didn't just mean digging through soil. Workers also had to build 18 aqueducts. These structures carried the canal over rivers and ravines. At 83 points along the canal, workers also had to build locks, devices that raise or lower boats. Engineers developed cutting-edge technology to make locks work in difficult areas. How locks work? When a boat reaches a place where the water is at a higher or lower depth, it enters the lock through a gate. The water level inside the lock is raised or lowered, depending on the water level in the direction the boat is moving. When the water level match, a gate on the other side is opened, which allows the boat to continue sailing ahead. Clinton Big Ditch. As the year went, government Clinton opponents in New York made fun of the canal project. They called it Clinton Folly and Clinton Big Ditch at a cost of $7 million. The canal was expensive. In 2019, that would be around $130 million. Clinton refused to run for re-election in 1822. People said the project would never end. However, in 1825, workers finally finished the Erie Canal. That same year, Clinton was elected to the position of government. For the grand opening of the canal in October 1825, Clinton led officials and supporters on a festive first trip down the canal route. Starting on Lake Erie, the group of boats traveled on the canal to Albany. From there, they sailed along the Hudson River to New York City. When they reached the Atlantic Ocean, Governor Clinton took a barrel of water that had been filled with water from Lake Erie and dumped it into the ocean. It was a symbolic moment. The two bodies of water had been optionally joined. Traveling the Erie Canal. The Erie Canal changed the way people and good traveled west. It used to take 2 weeks to travel across New York from Albany to Buffalo. The Erie Canal reduced that travel to 5 days. More settlers moved to the American Midwest and settled in the present-day states of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, and Illinois. Settlers in these areas mostly became farmers. It was now easy and cheap to ship goods east from the Midwest, where there were many natural resources, including lumber, gravel, and rich land of growing crops. The Midwest became known as America's breadbasket. The number of bushels of wheat exported from the Midwest grew from 14,000 in 1826 to 8 million in 1840. The Erie Canal made it easier to ship goods from east to west, too. Settlers in the Midwest now had access to goods they wouldn't have obtained before. Sugar stoves, nails, clothes, and other basic supplies manufactured in industrial centers on the East Coast. Mass minute. Before the Erie Canal, it cost 100 to ship 1 ton of wheat from Ohio to New York City. After the canal was built, it was approximately 10 for it approximately 10 for the same shipment. How much more did it cost to ship 7 tons of wheat before the canal was built? Before using the Erie Canal for more than just shipping, it also changed travel in the United States. Tourists often traveled the canal for pleasure. They could lodge, dine, and sleep in packet boats. Horses and mules led the boats along the towpath at a slow speed, around 4 miles per hour, 6 kilometers. Passengers could even get off for a stroll and then catch up with their boat later. It costs 4 cents per mile, 1.6 kilometers to travel by packet boat. The price includes tolls, meals, and a bed. Tolls help pay back what it costs to build the canal. Due to the canal's success, workers widened the canal to 20 feet, 21 meters, and deepened it to 7 feet, 2 meters in 1862. When in the early 19th, workers built a new larger canal to accommodate giant barges carrying tons of goods. The new canal uses parts of the original Erie Canal route. By the 1950s, though, people found other ways to transport goods. Railroad tracks and highways made it faster and cheaper to ship goods by train or truck. The Erie Canal instead became a popular tourist attraction, mostly used by leisure boaters. Several museums and educational sites entertain visitors along its banks today. A lasting innovation. Between 1820 and 1850, the population of New York quadrupled, and the Erie Canal was a central reason for its growth. Before the canal, New York City had been a smaller port city than Baltimore. Philadelphia, and New Orleans. Today, it is the largest city in the United States. The significance of the area canal extends beyond New York State. It opened indigenous land in the West to American settlers and changed the nation landscape. The canal allowed merchants to ship goods across the country cheaply and easily. As one of the most impactful large-scale construction projects of the 19th century, the canal remains an exceptional feat of engineering.